Hello everybody, Giselle Grenier here from artplace.ca. I'm really excited to be doing this project, and I was inspired by Mark Montano, who created these really cool mixed media dolls made out of wood blocks. So I'm going to post all the information to his blog and all that stuff, and I'm just really excited about this. I've done paper dolls before, but never like this. So it's Saturday. Joe's gone out to pick up some saw blades. I thought, let's have some fun today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use, I've got a whole bunch of stuff on here, but the link to actually what I end up using will be in the description below, because I don't want to waste all your time going through all the supplies, and I sometimes don't end up using them. First of all, just to get, you can get prints of thegraphicfairy.com, and she's got some really cool stuff. The prints here, these ones I got from Mark's blog, which he's graciously provided for anybody to use. And there's ones that I found on Graphic Fairy, which are also kind of neat. And you basically just find ones that you like. And I also found there's some butterfly prints as well. I'm not sure if I'm going to end up using them. But for the face, I'm going to use the face of one of my friends. Her name's Carol, and I'm going to use her face as the top block. So put those aside. Oh, out of room. And I just did a quick little dry fit to make sure I didn't waste time trying to look for stuff. So these are the little wood blocks that were in Joe's box of random pieces. And what I did I did some quick sketches. There's two projects I'm going to be making, only one in this video. And I thought I was looking for something like this. So I wanted a hat, then the face, then the body. And I wanted to use wood blocks for the legs. And if you don't have random pieces of wood like this, there's ones from Tim Holtz. And there's these little vignette pieces. They're not very thick. They'll be hard to attached together, but it's an option. It's an option. And the other thing you can do, make it out of scrap paper. So think of this as just being paper, and you can then take that and collage that onto a journal page or something like that. You don't have to use wood blocks. I want to use this to basically hang in my studio. And the other one, I was thinking about doing it for my mother-in-law as a noiseless wind chime, because she's got chimes everywhere and they drive me crazy. Okay, so I've got that, and I thought, okay, well, put Carol's face on here, and then this is from Mark's website. I thought this would be a really pretty dress, but I want to wrap it around. I'm not sure if I'm going to do this yet. Then I thought, what if I just put fabric on top? And I may end up doing that, so I'm not quite sure. I'm going to let the piece kind of guide me. And I've got for sure a flower, and I've got for sure the buttons. So again, if I do end up cutting this off, I'll put the buttons up here. Otherwise, they may just stay down here. Not sure. And to attach everything together, I'm going to be using these eyelets. Thank you, Joe. He doesn't know I did this. So I'm going to be attaching one in here, and then I've got a box, which I've been gathering stuff for over years, and this is all jewelry findings and stuff. And this is a broken necklace, and I just took two of the links out, and I'm going to use these to attach the eyelets together. So I'll just use that. Okay. And if you don't have eyelets, you probably can get away with just, wrapping wire around here, and then just kind of hanging it. Use what you have, string. Just you may have to glue it. So I've got that. So I've got the dress, and then I'm going to wrap the wood pieces with paper, and I'm going to be using Vintage Silhouette from the Deco Art line of their new papers, and there's some really nice paper in here. I'm going to be using that. Then I'm going to stencil this fence piece on top just to get a little bit of extra accents. I may end up doing other stuff, and then I'm going to put Carol's name with this. First thing we got to do is we have to prep our pieces. Now, come on. then you'll be using gesso to seal the wood. And I'm doing this only because I'm not sure if I want to end up using this, if I keep it in the studio, or if I'm going to put it into an area that's very humid. So if you're sure for sure you're going to keep this indoors, you can just use regular decoupage medium to collage your paper down. But if you're thinking about you putting it outside, then you can use decoupage outdoor, which is really, really cool. I like this idea. If you're not sure, just be just be proactive and just use the outdoor medium to do that. Now, for the wood pieces, you don't really have to prep them. I'm going to. I always like to prep my pieces because when I do my collage stuff, and gesso dries super, super fast, and it creates some nice tooth for stuff to stick on. So I would prefer gessoing instead of just collaging right on the wood, which basically is a glue product. It's going to sink inside the wood, the actual grain of the wood, which will take a much longer time to dry. I'm just going to do these pieces, and then I'll flip them over and do the other side. And for this, I'm just using DecoArt Media Gesso. This one here is super thick. Sometimes the gesso, I'll let the cap open. I'll have 2 containers. I'll leave the cap open to let some of the moisture evaporate, just so I have super thick gesso. And then I have 1 jar, which is just the gesso as is. See, this is already almost dry. Okay, then the legs. And for the legs, I mean, you can use anything. You can use forks. Oh, I should have used forks. Spoons. You can use spoons. And if you're, you can get a lot of that stuff at, special places, and they're paying a fortune for it. I like going to Value Village, and because everything that you buy there is for charity. So I'll get some stuff from there. There's Salvation Army, there's thrift shops, consignment shops, all that kind of stuff. Because you're not wanting something that's perfect. You want something that's, totally random. And I know I can get some really, really cool cutlery at Value Village. Oh, and as well, if I know that some of you live in the same city I do, I don't know what it's called. It's up on Rymel Road. It's where the waste depot is and the hazard disposal. They've got a little store there, and which is has some. You can buy some stuff there too. You can do donations and drop-offs and stuff. So that's pretty cool. Okay, just a thin coat, nothing fancy. So I'm going to continue on doing this, and then when we come back, I'll have everything gessoed, and then we can start collaging our paper. Got all blocks done, so now I'm just going to collage the paper. This is super, super easy. Use whatever you have. Dictionary paper, magazine paper, doesn't matter. And so I've got this. I really like this here, so I'm going to cut out these pieces. And you don't need to collage everything if your doll is going to be, let's say, against a wall. But I don't know what I'm going to do with mine. Well, I know I'm going to put it in the studio, but if I move it, I'm going to wrap the paper around the entire piece. Okay, so got that, and I've got some small text here, which is nicer for small pieces. So I'm just going to cut this out. There we go. So this step is not terribly exciting, but so you can wrap that around and simply collage it. There's nothing fancy. The other thing you can do is you can tear strips and collage strips over the whole piece, so the text will be all in different directions. So I'll demonstrate that on this here. We'll take this one. So I mean, I can put this whole thing like that, but if you tear some pieces, it'll take the focus off the words. I mean, you don't have to do it this way. I'm gonna show you this way. Just using my old Aqualon, oops, am I doing the right side? Yeah, we'll just do the side. So I'm using an old Aqualon brush that I unfortunately let sit in medium, or the decoupage a little too long, and even using winning colors didn't save it. So just gonna put the paper all over the place, and I'm gonna wrap it around. And I'm using the decoupage mat for this because I know this one here, I'm not going to put it outside. Okay, so just wrapping it around. Like I said, it's not terribly exciting. Put this sideways. I've got these set, and I'm going to show you. I forgot to tell you, one of the tips I learned from Mark was basically spraying your paper first, which relaxes it. And I've never done that before. And I also like the idea that it gets really, really translucent. And love that feel. And then for the little triangle block, I'm going to use a large sheet and then a smaller sheet. So I'm going to take the full sheet and go over like this. And then on the back, just put it in the water that's there. Put this little piece here. Hopefully this is big enough. And it's so much easier now to push the paper down. And then just to wrap it around, I'll put a little bit of decoupage medium here. But spraying the paper first really does make a difference. And you'll have your own favorite way of doing this. I'm just showing you how I do it. I never used to spray the paper, but it makes it so much easier. And this paper, although it is pretty strong, when it's wet, it does tear, so you just have to be a little bit more careful. And especially if you're using dictionary paper, you really gotta be careful. Whoops! Like now, I just tore it. So now I like how I have all the text going all over the place. And then this one here, I'll just fold it over. And fold that over. And now the decoupage medium is super duper sticky, so you want to make sure that when your hands are still wet, then wipe your hands, wash them, or wipe them with a baby towel or baby wipe. And then, whoopsie, oh, I don't have any more of my squares left. And then I'll just pop it on my squares to dry. You can use lids as well, just to dry that. And let me get a baby wipe. And then I'm just going to do the same thing with this one. And I'll just wrap it around. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Actually, what I'm going to do, I did the other leg where I flipped everything over and I didn't like the way it worked out. So I'll do this, and then I'll take a very thin strip. Try something different. So I'll spray this. Now let's put a little bit of decoupage medium on here. Just helps with the positioning of everything. And I'm going to wrap it all the way through because the paper gets translucent and it creates all these different looks to it. So I'm thinking if I do this, then I can take the paper and just go over. Yeah, I like that. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. So I'll do that first. Doesn't matter what side. Yeah, it has to be that side. Silly girl. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Had an accident. I'll wrap that around. And this is one of those projects, oh my God, you do not have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight and all that stuff, because the more random it is, it puts the focus on the actual piece and not on the text. And then this here. So we'll put that on there. Like I said, you'll have your own way of doing this. Just use whatever works for you. Whoops, see, I tore it. Not worried about it though. Not worried about it. My hands are getting sticky. I need to actually wipe them down. See, because it covers it up. Covers it up. And then just an extra bit of decoupage medium just to seal it. And then just at the top. Yeah, this one's a little bit easier to do. And then lay it on something to dry. Okay. So I'm going to let these pieces dry, and then I only have to do the back of that one. That one's finished, and I just have to do the back of that one. So I've got this put together here, and I just got to pick the size that I want. Doesn't really matter. I like them more here. And this is actually curved a little bit. Well, they go. And this is also higher than that. So when I put it together, I'll have to make sure it's flush to the front, not the back. Okay. And I cut out the dress and the head, so take care of that. So for the colors, what I want to do is, because we're getting into spring, so I thought making the dress yellow. So for the backgrounds, what I'm thinking about is making the background of this blue, and the background for the hat to be blue. But the hat is really kind of doesn't really matter. I may do something completely different. But the background, we're going to wash blue, then we're going to wash yellow on this. So for the colors, Deco Art Media Fluid Acrylics, Phthalo Blue, Hansa Yellow Light, Titanium White, and Imperial Red. I'm going to do a little bit of color mixing. For the yellow, I'm probably going to use it pure. But you don't want to do color mixing. You could use, maybe use Cobalt Teal Hue. Just going to wet the brush. And I'm using the new Moderna brushes. Not new, they're new to me. And to make that, so I'm going to take yellow and add a speck of phthalo blue, which makes a really bright neon green. And we're going to need a lot of this, so I'm just going to make that up like this. And a bit more blue. I'm going to put a little bit more white in there. And you can alter the color as much as you want. And I'm looking for something pretty sky blue. Oh, here we go. We're getting there. We're getting there. Never, ever, ever, ever add white to phthalo blue. Always add phthalo blue to your lighter color. Otherwise, you'll be mixing paint forever. That's really pretty. I like that. I'm going to put more white in there. And if you find your paint a little bit too intense, you can knock it back with a little bit of red. There we go. Yeah, that's good. So what I want to do as well, a little bit of water. Oh, it's almost empty. Because all I want to do is put a wash on there. Let me put a bit more blue. Okay. And let me just wipe some of that off. Oh. Looking for something very specific. All I want to do is stain that. Seeing it on the table, because the unstick mat is brown, the colors don't come out the same. Okay, that's more what I'm looking for. And because this is covered with decoupage medium, that I'll be able to wipe this back so I can still see. And the other thing is, if you wait too long for it to dry, because it's really cold and the furnace is on, take a baby wipe. Oops, I wiped up too much. Take a baby wipe. And you can do that as well. Whoops, got some red in there. Does it matter? Nope. Okay. Put that in the garbage. Oh. This also helps with the seams as well. And might as well, I'm going to go right over that because I'm going to paint these sides actually probably a different color. I may come in with a little bit of yellow, but I like the texture coming in there. Okay, so we got that. And then the hat, well, I might as well do the hat. You see I'm painting this quite roughly because I am going to come in with paint at the end because I still have to add the embellishments to this. And no, we're not going to need that. I'm going to make sure I rinse my brush really well. Actually, I'm just going to get a fresh brush because I don't want any green in this. And I'm thinking now this may be too yellow. This may be too yellow. Yeah, this may be a little bit too yellow. We'll see what happens. You know what the best thing about acrylics is? Just cover it up with another coat of paint. Okay. Very rough. Hit that with the heat gun. This really needs to be on one side. And really choose whatever color you want. I'm just doing this. This is just how I'm doing it. Use whatever colors you want. The reason why I'm thinking that this is going to be too yellow for the face because in the cutout, it's actually... Oh, actually, no, it's not bad. It's not bad. Heat gun just on one side. All right. That takes care of that. Now that's had a bit of time to dry, so I'm just going to gently wipe back some of the areas. And I would typically do this with sandpaper. My allergies are at their height right now, so I don't want to use any sandpaper. There we go. The yellow I'm going to leave the way it is. So that's going to make a nice contrast with the dress being yellow. While we're here, so let's just paint this. Just going to paint this. And I'm not adding any extra water to my brush because then the paper will get really warpy. You can also mount this onto cardboard if you want. I'm going to be collaging this, so if you're doing this on paper, then like if you're doing, you don't have blocks and you're using like watercolor paper or something, then you may want to just use something strong. love this print. Okay. And the face I'm going to leave the way it is. I'm not changing the face. And let's just get rid of that. And I'm just going to hit this with the heat gun for a sec. I'm going to paint the back. It's up to you whether or not you want to paint the back. That is completely up to you. You don't have to. What I'm going to do is try a different mixture, because I can choose whether, you know, what I want for the front and what I want for the back. I didn't want it to be so green. This is more like turn around. This is more like cobalt turquoise. Take a speck of that. There we are. I like that a little bit better. And just take a tiny bit of red to knock that back. Yeah, I like that. So I'll just paint it, then I'll be able to choose what color I want to use. That's really nice too, though. And I'll just dry brush that over here. Well, that's really crooked, that wood. Okay. And get a paper towel. Do. You could make this as grungy as you want. I'll just dry that. Doesn't take long at all because of the decoupage medium that's on there. So now I can choose whether I want it to be like this or like that. That's really strong. Like, it's got a really nice color to it. Yeah, I'm not sure. And I'm not going to worry about the hat. Then we have the body. There, the head. And that's going to be there. So, I'm thinking I want to glaze a layer on here, something different. Because her face has it's a sunshine tone that's on it. So I'm thinking I want to put a speck. I'm going to make a glaze with the red. Just knock that back. What I should have did was just use Derelid yellow. That would have been a better choice. And by using a glaze, the underlying color is going to show through. I'll just paint this on the back. Oh, you can make it really washy too. Oh, I like that. That's kind of neat. Kind of an abstract background. Let me dry that and see what it looks like. All right, so I made a change. I changed the color. I painted the legs yellow. Well, the legs will then disappear on the dress. So I painted the back with that blue, and I added a little bit of red on here. And I put a little bit of blue in there just to smudge it around, just to get something there. So now my idea was basically to collage the dress here, and what I had wanted it to do is I wanted to cut the dress. So if we just pretend that it's like that. And then what I wanted to do was I wanted to use some sheer material to put on top of here for the legs. So I'm not sure about that, if I like that. So I may just, I'm going to, oh, I got some paint on her skin tone. I think what I'm going to do, I'm just going to cut this. Need to really line that up. I'll cut it a little bit longer. It's easier to trim it down. And then we're going to collage this. The edges are rounded, so that's what makes it a little bit more challenging. So I'm going to collage that on there. So I will just use my decoupage. And where's my brush? Uh-oh. No, I'll just use this. And we can put a little coating on that. And I wanted to go with the more green side. It'll be really well protected. And what I like about the decoupage medium is that I can position and you can turn around and you can do a final finish in gloss or leave it as matte. That's completely up to you. Okay, and then the face, same thing. And you can, if your paper is very thick, you can vintage up the edges if you want. I didn't want to. Now very quickly, that's going to be there. So I actually could have moved the dress over. No, she's stuck. So I'll have to leave her there. I should have moved the dress over a little bit so I would have been centered, but that's all right. And we'll collage Carol's face. Push out any air bubbles. Finish that on the side. There we go. And that's it for the collage medium. So put that away. And that's going to get glued to that a little bit higher. You got some glare there. So she'll be glued there. And these are going to be with the eyelets. So that I can do now. It's going to be interesting to see if I can do this. I may have to get Joe to help me. Oh, there we go. So they'll be nice and swingy. And yes, the legs are different lengths. That's fine. That's fine for me. Which side do I want? I like that side. Oops. So when you're making something for the first time, so this is sort of like a little prototype. Okay. I'll go there. Then I'll put the other two eyelets in this piece, but I need to wait for this to dry because I have to put another coat of decoupage medium here, and then that I'm going to glue right up there. So this has to be completely dry before I do that. Take my Staedtler Permanent Special, which works well on gloss and it's permanent. So I'm going to make a mark. And this is pretty tedious as well, but if you've never done that, and I have a funny feeling when I did the legs, I was probably off camera. Now, this is cedar, so it's a little bit stiffer. If you're working with pine, it's fine. If you're working on watercolor paper, then you don't need to worry about it. I was going to ask Joe to drill me a little pilot hole. Arthritis doesn't, help with this. But he's making a toy box for a neighbor, so I thought, no, I'm not going to bother him. So let's see if these will work. So I've got... Let's see. All right, this may be a bit small. Yeah, I think these are a little bit small. I may have to go to another. May have to go to another size. Use another chain. And my mini pliers are, my other mini pliers are missing. So I'm having to use the round one. Seriously, come on. Yeah, that's not gonna, I don't think that's gonna work. Once they're closed, it actually fits quite nicely. It's getting them around. There we go. That takes care of that. Yep, that's secured. And the other one, yeah, I gotta have to find my other jewelry pliers. Working with round ones is no good. And the big other pliers I have here are too large. So we'll do this. And I just realized that I was supposed to stencil the background, and I forgot. Oh well. Could always add stamping. Did she go? Yep. Okay, note to self for the next one, I'm going to use a bigger chain. And then because the chain is gold, I can tint these with alcohol ink. There we go. Love that. Love that. Love that. All right, Carol, time to glue your head on. So with that, I'm going to glue it, and I'm going to glue it this way. Right here. Actually, you know what? Yeah. I'm going to make a mark. I mean, this is getting a little bit too perfect, but it's going to make a mark there so I can line that up. And then I'm going to put Well Bond glue here and here, and then hold that together. And it'll take about 2 minutes to be secure, and that'll be good. Now the other thing to do is if you're using something that's really, really off, you can put a little piece of masonite on the back here. Before I glue that down, I want to color up the edges a little bit. So I'm just going to use a stencil brush in burnt sienna, and I'm just going to quickly edge this. You can use ink as well if you want. This may not be dark enough. I like doing this with a stencil brush because you can vintage up the edges. I like that. Burnt sienna is a good color. Burnt umber as well. If you don't have burnt umber, just take 2 parts burnt sienna and 1 part ultramarine blue. You'll get something close. This is beautiful. Oh, I can hear the saw going. I don't know if you guys can hear that. There we go. And same thing on this one here. You can use a little dauber like this as well. You can just, a little sponge dauber. A bit easier. Not going to bother doing the bottom. And I always like to finish the back as well. This should have been done before I put the legs on. This should have been done before I put, whoopsie, before I put the legs on. Ooh, that's nice. Nothing a baby wipe can't fix. So the other piece that I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be using keys for a leg. I got these really, actually Joe found them. Anytime I go shopping with Joe, he finds the most interesting things. These massive, massive white keys. And these were at Michael's for $1.50. You can't go wrong here. And we pay in Canadian, or I pay in Canadian, so everything's twice as much here. If you have door keys, that would work just fine. There we go. And I still gonna contemplate doing the fabric for her skirt. I want to try to figure out how I'm going to incorporate yellow for contrast. Or she can be one of those showgirls and her dress can be see-through. Here we go. So that's what I'm going for here. All right, so let me just quickly put the heat gun to this. And everything is the same height, except for this, the piece of cedar. All right, let's line her up here. And I've got my weld bond. Oh, I think I better get some more of this. That's way too much, but... line up with that line, and then if you've got clamps, you can clamp it. My clamp isn't big enough. It doesn't open up that much. So what you can do too is wrap an elastic around it, and or even masking tape, but you have to make sure it's low tack. But masking tape, string would work as well. So this I'm going to let set. Let's see. This has to dry, let's see, 1 hour for non-porous. So we'll come back in an hour and we'll finish the hat and then we'll start embellishing her body. So while that's drying, I cut a piece of fabric the width of the dress, and then I took the bottom parts and I cut them into all little triangles. So what I'm going to do, I don't know if this will work. I'm going to just make her, just kind of do this. Like I said, I don't know if this is going to work, but I had to kill time. This is on the no stick mat, so it'll be all right. Then I'll put another piece of fabric on top. And I could have used a decoupage fabric for this. I just ran out. I'll just use a leftover glue. I cut everything into the triangle shapes. Again, I have no idea if this is going to work. Okay. And I've got some really cool stuff here. I mean, that would sit on the bottom. I think that's kind of pretty. Oh, it looks the perfect size. Holy smokes. This is trim, I believe, from the Tim Holtz line. I think. I'm not 100% sure. Oh, but you know what I want to do before this? Hang on. I want to put another piece of this. But I wanted it... I want it to be pleated. Having the fabric underneath will help peel it off. I'll just put a palette knife underneath and it'll be fine. You can use gesso for this as well. And then that on there. Don't want to waste anything. Oops, got some paint in there. A little bit of burnt sienna there. All right. I'm going to let that dry. This I'm thinking is going to be about a good hour to dry. And while we have some wet stuff going on there, let me just get a little bit of white. And a little bit of red. And just that there. Very watery. Go. Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna put that right there. And we'll let that dry for about an hour. And oopsie. Twisted that. There we go. All right, so we'll see what happens when this is all dry. All right, so I had a little bit of trouble with this. So I let the glue set overnight, and the problem that I had was it wouldn't, because the wood was at a different thickness than the actual block, that it kept tilting. So what I did is, the clamps that I have, they're so small, so I took it downstairs and Joe put a clamp from here and took the legs off to here and to clamp it together. And even then he said, okay, for the next one that you do, make sure the blocks are the same height. So that's issue number one, because when we pulled this off the table, some of the paper came off. So that's one thing. And then I took the little dress and I glued it down, which also had to dry for quite a while. So that was fine. And I cut the fabric, and I used some of this stuff. I'm trying to think. I think I got this at the dollar store. Some beautiful trim. So I put that in there. And then I found a nice button, so I put that on there. And I found these cute little buttons. Put those on there. And what I'm going to do with this one, I'm going to use a glue gun to glue this on to see how that's going to stay. And just waiting for that to heat up. What I want to do now is I want to start tying in, because this is the only red piece and this is the only kind of this beautiful oxide color. I want to start tying some of these colors into the other areas of the design. So I thought about just using transparent yellow iron oxide on the blue, but that's just going to turn green. So I want to use transparent yellow iron oxide to shadow the dress. And then I'm going to use Decor Art Metallic Luster. I'm going to use Radiant Red and Orange Flicker on the legs and possibly on the edges just to do a bit of distressing. Fair warning, ouch. Chaos is in one of her moods. She's cold. All she wants to do is sit right here. I caught her this morning actually. She was actually laying on top of the doll when I was setting up for filming, and she was laying on top of her. So, all right, so while that glue gun is warming up, I'll take this and, oh yeah, and then I cut the dress into pieces, so it's kind of cute. So I'm just going to take some of this, and and then I'm going to burnish this in. Just some areas. Oh, what? A little bit of the yellow. See, now it'll tie everything in. And because it's going to be covered, it's not so move. It's not so in your face. Now, as long as you haven't burnished this, you can wipe it off with just a little bit of water. I'm going to get my clean kitchen cloth. Oh, and Joe's working in the workshop again, and I'm going to burnish it. Once it's burnished, it won't come off. You can use metallic paint. You can use whatever you want. This is a kind of like a prototype. So there's some things that I even had the leg wrong, so let me fix that. Being a prototype is where you get to practice your stuff, and I kind of like actually how it turned out. The wood blocks being different sizes, that's the big one that really caused me the biggest grief. Here we go. Burnish that. Now, are these legs correct? Okay, that's fine. And then we'll just kind of fold those papers back. All right, and I'm just going to take a little bit more, just a little bit, not much. It'll just help tie in. It'll help just tie in. You can even put trim here. The paper let go here. This is where it was stuck on the table. Sorry, Carol, it was stuck on the table. So what I'm going to do next time when I do the clamping, I'm going to take part of a no-stick mat that I have, an old one, and I'm going to cut it into pieces and I'm going to put that underneath it, and that should stop it from breaking apart. And I glued the buttons on here, and I just used Weld Bond for this. So let's see, I want to tie in the red. And I'll just do a little bit on the edge. And do the front and back, doesn't matter. I love using these wax pastes. I love it. It goes so far. It goes so far. Okay, so now that color is tied into that. This color is tied into here and here. And I can put a little bit of that red right here. All right, so that worked out well. You know where Chaos is laying? I'll move this. Her head was right on top of here. She likes the heat. And, all right, so what was I going to do? Oh, yeah, transparent yellow iron oxide. And she knocked my brush on the floor. Oh, no, there it is. I'll just get this little brush, and I'm just going to put a little bit of shadow on inside the dress. The yellow is really, really vibrant. Hansa Yellow Light by itself is a color I don't typically work with. It's always used to glaze. I actually like that over the Hansa Yellow, so I'm going to put that over. It just knocks it back a little bit. Oh yeah, I like that. See that? Oh, that's much nicer. Okay, so there we go. Problem solved. Then where you want it shadowed, just put a couple of layers. And that's up to you. You don't have to do that. I myself want to. I much prefer this color. And if you don't have access to transparent yellow iron oxide, you could use something, let's say like yellow ochre or yellow oxide, and just add a little bit of water to it. It won't be 100% the same, but it's better than nothing. There we go. Oh, Carol, you're looking so pretty. There's a piece of paper stuck under here. What is that? I'll have to get that out. Okay, so that takes care of that one. And oh yeah, so let's see how this works. And we'll just put that there. See, because the wood blocks aren't even putting this on, it's shifting, but that's, oh, done. Unplug this. Now, I don't know how strong the actual glue gun, I've had some issues with the glue gun. Sometimes when you drop stuff and it stuff falls off or whatever. This is a prototype. I would actually prefer gluing it and then clamping it, but I wanted to get this piece done. The button isn't quite set either. That's not quite set, but that'll be fine. So there we go. So the doll is done. Let's just show you some pieces. I know there's a bit of a glare there. And I could actually, see, this is where I'm running in the issue because it wasn't even. And I could even make this two-sided and repeat a different design here, put another skirt on top, so that would actually be kind of pretty. So from this piece, definitely the wood blocks being the same size, that's key. That's key. And other than that, I really enjoyed this. And clamping. So little clamps didn't work, but so I can make the doll smaller, but I actually like the way this turned out. And the thing that's left is that putting an eyelet in here. I'm going to get Joe to help me with that, to drill a pilot hole so it's right in the middle. Then put an eyelet, glue the eyelet in, and then that way it can hang in the studio. So this is kind of cute. I like it. So I hope that you enjoyed this, and you'll see, when things go wrong, how to fix them, how to get around them, how to tie different colors together, using a limited palette to do some coloring, how to do some embellishing, and use what you have. I would say with this here, there was absolutely nothing that I had to buy to make this. I had everything already, other than printing the photographs and the print. It was fine. So I hope that you enjoyed this, and that you'll join me next time when I create the other doll, which is almost like a boudoir photo of the girl. She's wearing some undergarments, and she's got a real, pin-up face. So that'll be an interesting look. All right. So that's it. So I hope you enjoyed this, and until I see you next time, stay inspired. Blooper alert, I forgot to put the name. So I've got these little chipboard pieces. So they're from, who makes this? K & Company. I got them for 99 cents. So with this, all I'm going to do is just put Carol's name right here. You can glue these down as well. H-I-J-K, L, 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 L. There we go. There we are. Now we're really finished. So there we go. Hope you enjoyed it. And again, until I see you next time, stay inspired.